Thanks for watching Numbskull News, and today we're going to talk about the biggest early games of the Big 12 season. Really big test to see who is going to be what. Now, look, you can't win the conference in the first 5 weeks, but you can damn sure lose it. All right, you can go into a downward spiral quickly. But there are some benchmark games here, and I think it's worth going through them. So let's get started. First off, let's talk about Farmageddon. It's never been bigger. Farmageddon. Well, maybe that's not necessarily true. Farmageddon was pretty damn big last year. The winner went to the conference title game. So, okay, maybe not the biggest, but it's pretty big. It's in Ireland, week 1, Kansas State versus Iowa State. And this is what's on the line. Both of these teams don't have bad schedules after Farmageddon. So, let's say Kansas State wins. I mean, they're smooth sailing till week 6, and they're at Baylor. That's their next toughest game past this. So they can easily, if they win this game, they can easily be 5-0 going into that Baylor game. So that's big time for them. Iowa State. Now, they do have Iowa week 3, but it's easy skating for them all the way to week 7. If they can win this game, if they can beat Iowa in week 3, like they beat Iowa last year, you're talking a 6-0 team going into week 7 versus Colorado, and that team would probably be ranked somewhere close to the top 10, if not inside the top 10. So Farmageddon for both of these teams is massively huge. Maybe even a little bit bigger for Iowa State because they do have Iowa a couple weeks afterwards. But a huge game, and we're all going to pay attention, I'm assuming. Another week 1 game, and look, people may be overlooking this one, but I'm putting it early because it should not be overlooked. It's Utah versus UCLA. Utah travels to LA. They're used to doing that. All right, so this isn't something out of left field for the Utah Utes. They were both 5-7 last year. Not very good teams, but we all believe that Utah is going to be a lot better. This isn't a huge test going against UCLA on the road, but it is a test. And it is important for Utah. If you want to get started, you need this game. You need to make a statement with this game. UCLA is a Big Ten team. They need to get that win. Week 4, they're at home. And look, it gets tough. After week 4 and on, it gets really tough for Utah. They're at home versus Texas Tech. They have to travel to West Virginia in week 5. Week 6, they're at home versus Arizona State. Week 7, they got BYU. Week 8, they got Colorado. I mean, it is a daunting task. So they need to get off on the right foot. They need to be 3-0 going into Texas Tech. That's very important for the best possible season for Utah. So yes, this game is valuable and important for the Utes. And another big week 1. I'm starting with the week 1 stuff here. The big matchups in week 1. Baylor versus Auburn. They get them at home. This is going to be a monster game for Baylor to see where they stand. Look, some people think that Auburn's going to take a major step up this year. They're going to be way better this year. There's others that don't believe in them. So it's kind of a 50-50 thing on how good Auburn is going to be. But this is a big early SEC test for Baylor. Are they going to be the team that finished strong last year, or are they going to be the crap we've seen the year before? Keep in mind, early on in the season, Baylor also has to go to SMU, and they also have Arizona State at home not long after this Auburn game. So this is very important. Baylor wants to be in the conversation for the conference title game. I think they can get there. I think they got the schedule, the talent, the quarterback. They got it all. I think they can make the conference title game. But this is a big test early. If they lose to Auburn at home, I can't see them getting to the conference title game. That's how important this game is. Next up, we got Colorado, the Buffs, prime time. And they are at home versus Georgia Tech, week 1. Huge matchup. Georgia Tech, there's a lot of buzz. No pun intended, but a lot of buzz about Georgia Tech this year. Colorado, no Travis Hunter in the NFL. Shedeur Sanders in the NFL. They have a quarterback, but we don't know how good he's going to be. He rates pretty high. The offensive line seems a little better. The defense especially seems better. They have them at home. Incredibly important for Colorado. Week 3, they go to Houston. Then they got BYU. They're at home versus BYU in week 4. They got TCU in week 6. Iowa State week 7. Utah week 8. So they got a gauntlet to go through. So early on, week 1, this would be a great win for Colorado to snatch. I know it's not like Florida State. It's not Clemson. It's none of that. Georgia Tech is on the rise. So if Colorado can come out of the gate and get a win, this is actually a pretty big win, and it'd be a pretty nice win for Prime. Even with Farmageddon out there, with Bill Belichick coming to UNC, this is going to be the big game of week 1. All right, it probably shouldn't. It should be Farmageddon. But let's be honest, all eyes are going to be on this game week 1. Bill Belichick back on the sidelines. TCU going to UNC. This is a huge game for TCU because they got one hellacious schedule. In week 3, they got SMU. Then they have to go to Arizona State in week 4. Week 5, they got Colorado. They got to go to Kansas State in week 6. And then they welcome in Baylor in week 7. So it's off to the races for TCU. If they want a shot after week 7, after that Baylor game, if they want a real legit shot at the conference title game, they can't be any worse than 5-2. And after 5-2, they got to run the table. 10-2 is what it's going to take to get into that conference title game. And this is one hell of a daunting start for TCU. So going into UNC, they cannot afford to lose that game. On the road, Bill Belichick, the entire football universe, all eyes on them. I mean, look, you remember when Prime first got to Colorado, what was the first game? TCU. It's like, let's put them against TCU. Let's, every time some big time coach comes in. So here we go. TCU. I think they have what it takes to get to the conference title game, but you want to talk about a gauntlet? Here it is. Massive. This would be a massive must win. A must win for TCU. If they lose to UNC, you can forget about that conference title game because they're not going to go 5-2. They'll be lucky to be, 4-3 at most. And that ain't going to be good. That ain't going to be good enough. It won't be good enough to get into that conference title game. So they can get knocked out really early. These are kind of the B-side games here that I'm fixing to go through. But even though these are, considered the lesser brands of the Big 12, it's still important to really gauge their growth because we added them, not because they were already big-time brands, but because they have the potential to be big-time brands. Cincinnati versus the Cornhuskers. This is actually very, very big, and it's very, very important. Coach Satterfield, how long is he going to be at Cincinnati? This game right here can do a lot to make sure that man possibly even gets a new contract or his next contract with Cincinnati. That's how big this game is for the Bearcats and for Coach Satterfield. I like Satterfield. I think he's doing a pretty good job. I think Cincinnati gets to a bowl game this year. This is a fantastic measuring stick game because the Cornhuskers aren't exactly blowing anybody's doors off, all right? Matt Rule isn't some badass. We have now figured this out, finally. So, this game, I am going to really pay attention to this game and heavily pulling for the Bearcats. I think they can get this done. I really do. It's at home. Let's go Bearcats. Make a statement. They need a statement win. This would be it. Now, this is not a week 1 game, but UCF versus UNC week 3. So we got UNC double dipping non-conference into the Big 12. Belichick yet again. This time Belichick has to go to the bounce house. We'll see how he fares on the road, because those 2 games are going to tell the tale for UNC as well. If TCU gets them and UCF gets them, UNC is going to go in the shitter. They're not going to do worth a damn. Even with Belichick there, they won't do worth a damn. Look, I got TCU winning week 1. UCF, we'll see how it is. This is going to be this isn't the earliest test for Scott Frost. Really, it's Jacksonville State week 1 that'll be the early test for UCF, because the bar is not that high for them. Jacksonville State had a good year last year. They're not a punk. Then you got UNC. Right after that, UCF goes to Kansas State, and then after that, home against Kansas. So they got both Kansas schools in week 4 and 5. So if they're going to make any kind of a move, UCF, if they're going to do anything, you really, week 1, pay attention to Jacksonville State, see how they handle that at home. And then when they welcome in UNC, let's see what they do there. This is going to be a big game for UCF. A lot of ratings. I'm really hoping these guys get jacked up and go for it and score a win. Welcome to college football moment for Bill Belichick. Let's go, Knights. And the last of the week 1 matchups, I don't have a lot of hope against Oklahoma State. The Cowboys going to Eugene to take on the Ducks. I don't have a lot of hope. This could very easily be a bloodbath for Oklahoma State, unfortunately. But still, it's important. Let's look at what they do. Oklahoma State, they're at home against Baylor week 3. So, look, if they can miracle this win, and they can go down to Waco, they don't have to go down to Waco. When they welcome Baylor into their own home, if they can miracle that shit, Oklahoma State would be back on the map. Even if they lose to Oregon and keep it close, that could be seen as a respectable loss, right? They could earn, some of that mystique back. So we'll see what happens. Huge year. Huge freaking year for Gundy and everybody there in Stillwater. Oregon's going to tell us a lot. If they get their doors blown off, I don't know if Gundy sees the end of the season. I just don't. But if they can manage to keep that game respectable, hey, who knows what happens with Gundy. And if they beat Baylor in week 3, holy shit. Now, the biggest week 2 matchup for the Big 12, I know, sounds crazy, right? But this is really the biggest matchup in week 2. It's BYU versus Stanford. And look, I wouldn't even consider this much of a matchup, but what happened, right? Retzloff's gone. We're still going to have to find out who the quarterback of BYU is going to be. I think the rest of the team is really good. Better than what Stanford's going to put out there. But be careful. Stanford has been putting in money to the football program. They're a little better. They could be, I should say they could be a little better. However you want to see it. They're at home versus Stanford, but this is going to be a measuring stick game with a new quarterback. And they don't have a quarterback on the roster that has played a whole lot of freaking football on this level. So it's going to be interesting, and it's going to be important. If BYU wants to stay in the running, they're going to need this game. After this game, they go to Eastern Carolina. I know Eastern Carolina. Eastern Carolina is a sneaky good team. Week 3, they got them. Week 4, they go to Colorado. And then they're at home versus West Virginia. So to get off on the right foot, week 2, they need to beat Stanford. And like I said, this is going to be the biggest Big 12 game in week 2. So people are going to be paying attention. People are going to be curious. Come on, Cougars. Let's get it done. And in week 3, the return of Rich Rod going back to West Virginia, back in the backyard brawl. This is going to be one of the more lit backyard brawls we've seen in recent memory. This is going to be a big time game. I don't know if it's going to be on ESPN. I don't know if it's going to be on Fox. I don't know if it's going to be on ABC. I have no idea. But it damn sure is not going to be on the ACC network. It damn sure isn't going to be on ESPN Plus. This is going to be a big time game. Like I said, there's going to be a lot of interest with Rich Rod going back. Backyard brawl. Let's go. Big time test for the Rodster in week 3 and for the rest of the Mountaineer faithful. Also in week 3, Texas Tech, probably going to be one of the more fascinating teams to follow in the Big 12 this year with all the damn money they spent, all the pressure on Joey McGuire. What the hell are they going to do? Are they getting to the conference title game? Are they getting to the playoffs? I don't know. But in week 3, their first big matchup, Oregon State. It's not what it used to be now that Oregon State is basically a G6 school. However, this is a big test for this new team. This is an important win at home because after that, they got to go to Utah. They go to Houston. They're at home versus Kansas, and then they got to go to Arizona State. That's a tough-ass four-game trudge there. 3 out of those 4 are road games. And like I said, those road games are Utah, Houston, and ASU. That ain't easy. At home versus Kansas, that ain't going to be easy. So they need this win. If Texas Tech wants to get to wherever the hell they want to go this year, if the Beavers come in there and get a win, their season, I'm talking week 3, y'all, will be destroyed. They will get knocked to the mat and they won't get up. That will be the story of Texas Tech if they lose this game. It's massively important. So get your tortillas out, Tech fans, and get to chunking because they need this win. You got the reigning defending champion Sun Devils. They have to go to Baylor. This is week 4. They're not even going to get a real test until week 4 when they go to Baylor. This is going to be a massive game in week 4, the biggest game of week 4 in my humble opinion. Let's see. Does Arizona State really have it? And what does Baylor have? What does Baylor have? Because they got a gauntlet before they get to this. So this is going to be damned exciting stuff right here. Arizona State, their schedule, it's a nice schedule. They got some tough matchups like Baylor here, but it's a nice schedule. That's why I'm picking them to get back to the conference title game this year. I don't know if they'll win it. And by the way, these two teams, this is who I have in the Big 12 title game this year. This is my prediction right here. So this is going to be damn exciting stuff and tough road test for the defending champs. We go back to week 3. Houston's going to be interesting this year as well. A lot of the national media really believe in the coach. The coach really believes in his new quarterback. Let's see what they got. Week 3, this big test in Colorado. We don't know how good Colorado is going to be, all right? They're going to get tested. Houston's part of that testing as well. But at home, welcoming in Colorado, if Houston pulls that off, man, Houston could have a nice season. They don't have the roughest of rough schedules, all right? It's all the schedules in the Big 12 are taxing, but, you know, Houston's got a nice little pathway there. I'm not saying they got a shot at the conference title game, but a shot to to a bowl game, yeah, they got that. And this is going to be an important test. It's by no means is it going to be one of the biggest game of week 3. No, week 3 is going to be a big week for the Big 12. But it's going to be interesting to pay attention to how Houston handles this. Outside of the backyard brawl, this is going to be one of the biggest. This is, I don't know, it's right there with the backyard brawl. KU versus Mizzou. Huge matchup. The Jayhawks go to Missouri. Missouri, from all I've read, is supposed to be pretty good this year. I think Kansas gets back to being good and a contender for the conference title game. So early on, week 3, this is massive for Kansas. Big time. If they can go into Mizzou and get that win, it puts the entire league on notice. Hey, Kansas ain't no one to screw with. And finally, also in week 3, this is it's not a game that's going to be on anybody's calendar really, but Arizona versus K-State. This is going to be Arizona's first big test of the season. I think everyone has them just in the shit house, just the bottom of the league. But here's a great test. All right, Arizona's at home. Kansas State's coming in there. Can they keep it respectable? Or are they going to get their doors blown off at home? Keep in mind, the very next week, week 4, they got to go to Iowa State. That's a hell of a back-to-back for Arizona. If they want to show some signs of life, if Brett Brennan is going to be a long-term coach there, it's going to be games like this at home that you're going to have to win or at least get close. That's bottom line for Arizona. So not everyone's going to be paying super close attention to this game, but I will be reviewing the score and seeing, kind of charting and seeing how teams like Arizona in the Big 12 are doing, because I want to see Arizona do well. I do. I want to see Kansas State do well as well. I'm a Big 12 fan, but these lesser schools, let's see what they got. Let's see what they got early on. All right, I don't think I missed anybody. I think I tried to be inclusive here and cover all the early big games for everybody. Of course, there's some games that, really aren't that big. But for that school, like I said, like Arizona, for Houston, for Cincinnati, for UCF, they do have big games early on. So I did want to touch on those. And some of them are going to be kind of interesting to see how they progress. Oklahoma State, I don't think they got a shot in hell against Oregon, but I'm going to be interested to seeing, hey, can they keep it close for a half? Maybe for 3/4. Who knows, right? It's football. Anything can happen. I'm putting my money on the Ducks. I am. But I want to see how they react. Can Gundy get them close? Can they keep it respectable? So it's storylines like that I'm interested in all over the league. And it's going to be one hell of a season. All right, so I just wanted to bust down some of these games. Didn't go in depth, just very general stuff. All right, you got other channels out there that'll go to the Marianas Trench of information on every freaking player and I'm not that guy. I'm just going to give you an overview on what interests me, what schools going against what schools, coaches, some of the bigger stories. I'm interested in that. So, can't wait for that damn ball to kick off the Big 12. We're coming for you. Anyway, thanks for watching this crap. I'll be back with some more crap later. Bye.